Welcome to Culture, Worldview, and Origins. We're Tim and Holly Nyquist. We're in this the series on critical thinking skills in science. This is chapter 13 on Kuhn, critical thinking. We're in session number 4. This chapter 4, is normal science as puzzle solving. He is going to give us what is normal science about. What do we do? What's the main activity involved in it? And so he says, perhaps the most striking feature of the normal research problem we have just encountered is how little they aim to produce major novelties, conceptual or phenomenal. Okay, why? Well, because if your aim is to produce major novelties, then that might also bring with it a change of paradigm or a change of theory. And so the scientists that join this paradigm, join that community, then what they're looking for is normal research. And what is normal research? Is how little they aim to produce major novelties. Why? Because a major novelty might include then something that's outside the boundaries. But then he says, well, no one devotes years to, say, the development of a better spectrometer or the production of an improved solution to the problem of vibrating strings simply because of the importance of the information that will be obtained. So why does a scientist do his work? If it's not to discover something novelty, then what motivates him? What gets him up every day? What gets him to the lab? And what's he doing? So it says no one devotes years to the development of a better spectrometer or production of something of problem solution to vibrating strings. What motivates the scientist within the paradigm, within normal science? Well, he says, bringing a normal research problem to a conclusion is achieving the anticipated in a new way. Okay, so there are problems. Each paradigm has its problems, and if you take on a problem, then if you can bring it to a conclusion, then it's an anticipated new way. And it requires the solution of all sorts of complex instrumental, conceptual, and mathematical puzzles. Okay, so now he's on to puzzles. And he says science is got a lot of puzzles to it. And what a scientist does is stays within the parameters solving puzzles. That's why the name of the chapter is Solving Puzzles. And so he's saying, well, okay, then scientists are really puzzle solvers. The man who succeeds proves himself an expert puzzle solver. And the challenge of the puzzle is an important part of what usually drives him on. So what motivates a scientist to continue on if there's no major novelties is to solve the puzzle. And there's different puzzles within the parameters of that science community. And if you can take on a puzzle and bring it to its conclusion, and to do so, then you've had to develop instruments, you've had to develop concepts and mathematical and equations, and those are all puzzles. If you can do that and bring it to an end, then the man who succeeds proves himself an expert puzzle solver. So that's what Thomas Kuhn is calling the scientists within the paradigm, is that they are the ones that are successful puzzle solvers. And that's what drives the scientist on. If, however, the problems of normal science are puzzles in this sense, we need no longer ask why scientists attack them with such passion and devotion, because it's particular. it's autonomous, it's independent, it's the one scientist that is going to solve that puzzle. And if he can do so, then he will be the chief puzzle solver, according to Thomas Kuhn. What then challenges him is the conviction that if only he is skillful enough, he will succeed in solving a puzzle that no one before has solved or solved as well, so well. Many of the greatest scientific minds have devoted all of their professional attention to demanding puzzles of this sort. Okay, so that is what Thomas Kuhn conceptualizes scientific work as, and scientists as puzzle solvers. But puzzle solvers within a parameter. Puzzle solving that is done by the rules and using the theories and developing instruments and concepts and mathematical equations according to the boundaries established by the paradigm. If it is to classify as a puzzle, a problem must be characterized by more than an assured solution. There must also be rules that limit both the nature of acceptable solutions and the steps by which they are to be obtained. To solve a jigsaw puzzle is not, for example, merely to make a picture, okay, to force the pieces all together and make a collage of something that's kind of, it might be called abstract art. But what he's calling a puzzle maker or a puzzle solver is somebody that puts a puzzle together that all the interlocking pieces fit neatly together and it forms a picture, an image of what that paradigm is to produce. If we can accept a considerably broadened use of the term rule, one that will occasionally equate it with established viewpoint. Okay, so now he's asking us to accept. Okay, if we can accept a considerably broadened use of the term rule, okay, and what's he want to equate rule with? One that will occasionally equate with established viewpoint or with preconception, then the problems accessible within a given research tradition display something much like this set of puzzle characteristics. Okay, so if a paradigm has to have rules, whether they're explicit or not, it has rules, it has boundaries, how to do science. What are the acceptable instruments? What are the acceptable procedures? What are the acceptable conclusions? Those are rules, but then Kuhn says those rules then could be equated with an established viewpoint. Okay, now we're back to worldview. We're looking at things, and with the theory, habit, prejudice, and culture, they influence the viewpoint. So what he's saying is the rules within that paradigm represent a particular point of view, particular viewpoint of the puzzle or preconception. Then the problems accessible within a given research tradition display something much like this set of puzzle characteristics. Okay, so Thomas Kuhn, I don't think he made a lot of friends through this essay. I don't know, but the essay, though published in 1962, is still a topic today, and it is one of the most still quoted bases of research. And he's calling scientists puzzle solvers, and the puzzle solvers work at a desk, and they have all the pieces there, and they have rules, and they have procedures, and they just snap the puzzles together, and they do it in a new way, and then bring it to a conclusion, and that is their life goal. Thomas Kuhn goes on. He says, there are explicit statements of scientific law and about scientific concepts and theories. While they continued to be honored, such statements help to set puzzles and to limit acceptable solutions of the puzzles. So in other words, he says there are explicit statements. They're within the body of the paradigm. They're within, and it's those that have developed the paradigm that really know the rules, and that those rules are explicit statements of scientific law and about scientific concepts and theories. And it is such laws that help to set such puzzles and to limit the acceptable solutions of those puzzles. So you can't just offer any old solution. Your solution has to be within the paradigm, within what that paradigm allows as a solution. At a lower level, or more concrete than that of laws and theories, there is, for example, a multitude of commitments to preferred types of instrumentation and to the ways in which accepted instruments may legitimately be employed. So we're talking about that at a lower level, there are rules, there are laws, and there's a multitude of commitments that limit what instruments can be used and how you can use them. And so it's a very controlled community. It's a very controlled research project. And so this is what he's saying, is that the ways that what we're looking at is, okay, normal science as problem solving. And it's not just going out there and looking for a problem and offering whatever solution you might come up with. It's looking at the problems generated by that paradigm and looking for a solution to that problem within that paradigm. Finally, at a still higher level, there is another set of commitments without which no man is a scientist. The scientist must, for example, be concerned to understand the world and to extend the precision and scope with which it has been ordered. So the scientist must be concerned to understand the world. How is he to understand the world? He is to understand the world according to the paradigm, according to the metaphysical metaphysics that are defined within that paradigm. The scientist cannot go outside that paradigm if he's to be a scientist. He follows the paradigm. And to be concerned to understand the world. So what is the world? My concept of the world might be different than his or yours or anybody else's, but to understand the concept of the world then is to understand it according to that accepted paradigm, and to extend with precision and scope with which it has been ordered. So you follow the paradigm to the end, and that is normal science as puzzle solving. So you're not looking to get outside the parameters. You're not looking to look with a broad view. You're looking to solve a solution or a problem with a solution that is all according to the paradigm that normal science is built on. Normal science is a highly determined activity, but it need not be entirely determined by rules. That is why at the start of this essay, I introduced shared paradigms rather than shared rules or assumptions and points of view as the source of coherence for normal research tradition. Okay, so what he's advocating is that he did not start the essay with introducing shared rules. What are the shared rules? What are the shared assumptions? What are the shared points of views? No, he started with shared paradigms, because he goes back to, and then what is a paradigm? What is he advocating as a paradigm? So what is a paradigm? Well, according to outside the text, outside of this text. Thomas Kuhn continued to write because he had to respond to a lot of his critics. And others tried to synthesize what he was writing and put it up. So this is from a website, The Living Philosophy. What is a paradigm? And I guess this is Kuhn's definition of later of what he meant by paradigm. He says a paradigm is a shared worldview that points all its members in the right direction. And while there are rules that govern how the community proceeds, these rules are implicit. So in other words, they aren't stated. They aren't directly, but the worldview is. Now, worldview concept in 1962 was not as developed as it is today, at least not in the U.S. And so when he says worldview, I'm not quite sure what he meant by it, except for, is it just a mechanical how one views the world, or does it involve all the Weltbild, the Weltanschauung, and the Welt model of building from our picture of the world to our viewing of the world to our modeling of the world? But he does bring in worldview, in that a paradigm is a shared worldview. So paradigm, worldview, and how that works. And again, we're back to the glasses then of how one views the world, and we're back to, not back, but forward to Stephen Jay Gould's theory, habit, prejudice, and culture, and how that influences how each one views the world. Thanks again for accompanying me. We're wrapping up session number 4, chapter 13, Kuhn and critical thinking. Thanks again for joining us.